The Fallacy of Clamorous Leadership and the Triumph of Strategic Calm. Across contemporary leadership landscapes, from corporate boardrooms to government halls, a particular archetype dominates. The individual who speaks with unwavering certainty, who dominates discussions through sheer vocal power, who treats every conversation as a performance. This model of leadership has become so prevalent it often goes unquestioned. Yet today, a closer examination reveals this understanding of power to be fundamentally flawed. The appeal of the clamorous leader is understandable. In an increasingly complex world, a forceful voice provides the illusion of clarity. A commanding presence suggests control in the face of uncertainty. This initial impression can be compelling, creating the appearance of decisive leadership. However, this impression often proves misleading, confusing the volume of the speaker with the value of their ideas, and mistaking assertiveness for actual strategy. What emerges from examining leadership beyond the immediate spectacle is a more nuanced reality. The leader who relies on noise may command attention in the moment, but the leader who cultivates strategic depth commands influence over time. This distinction becomes evident across multiple domains where lasting impact matters most. The corporate world provides compelling examples. Consider the transformation of a major technology corporation during a period of existential crisis. The leader who engineered its remarkable turnaround was not the most charismatic figure in the industry, but rather one known for thoughtful deliberation. While many voices advocated for dramatic, visible actions, this leader pursued a different path, focusing on fundamental restructuring, cultural renewal, and strategic patience. The result was not just recovery, but the emergence of a more resilient, more innovative organization. The leadership that enabled this transformation was quiet but purposeful, demonstrating that sustainable success requires more than performative confidence. Similar patterns appear in broader organizational contexts. Major public institutions facing credibility crises have consistently found their way forward not through louder messaging, but through leaders willing to listen carefully, acknowledge complex realities, and build consensus through respectful engagement. These leaders understand that trust cannot be declared into existence, it must be built through consistent, principled action. The consequences of prioritizing noise over substance become particularly evident during periods of genuine crisis. When unexpected challenges emerge, the limitations of a leadership style based on vocal dominance become apparent. Initial commands may generate quick compliance, but they rarely inspire the deep commitment necessary for navigating prolonged difficulty. Teams led by volume rather than vision often struggle with innovation, as members become conditioned to echo rather than think critically. This dynamic has been observed and analyzed across different leadership contexts. A classic military observation offers insight. Napoleon Bonaparte famously suggested that the spirit of the leader determines the effectiveness of the organization, comparing the influence of lions and dogs. This metaphor is often interpreted as celebrating fierce, dominant leadership. A more careful reading, however, suggests something different. The lion's effectiveness lies not in constant roaring, but in its strategic presence, knowing when to act, when to conserve strength, when to influence through mere proximity. The most effective leaders understand that their real power derives not from their loudness, but from their judgment. The contrast between these leadership approaches becomes most apparent in the legacy they leave. The clamorous leader often produces brief periods of intense activity followed by longer periods of adjustment. The strategic leader, by contrast, tends to build foundations that support sustained progress. One generates dramatic moments, the other enables meaningful trajectories. This distinction raises important considerations for how leadership is identified and developed. If the most vocal individual in the room consistently receives promotion and recognition, organizations inevitably cultivate cultures of performance over substance. Alternatively, when quiet competence, careful analysis, and strategic patience are properly valued, different qualities emerge in aspiring leaders. The evidence from various sectors suggests a consistent pattern. Lasting impact comes not from the leader who provides the most exciting answers, but from the leader who asks the most meaningful questions. Not from the individual who speaks with greatest certainty, but from the one who thinks with greatest depth. Not from the person who demands attention, but from the one who earns respect through demonstrated judgment. These observations suggest a need to recalibrate how leadership is understood and valued. The ability to speak confidently will always be an asset, but it must be paired with the capacity to think critically and act wisely. The leader who can quiet the room has power, but the leader who can quiet their own ego to truly listen often has greater impact. As the challenges facing organizations and societies grow more complex, the premium on strategic calm seems likely to increase. The leader who can resist the pressure to provide immediate, simplistic answers in favor of thoughtful, sustainable solutions becomes increasingly valuable. This represents not a passive approach to leadership, but a more disciplined one, recognizing that the most significant victories are often won not through dramatic confrontations, but through consistent, principled progress. In the final analysis, leadership reveals itself not in the moments of loudest proclamation, but in the steady accumulation of wise decisions. Not in the number of followers who applaud, but in the capabilities they develop. Not in the volume of the leader's voice, but in the value of their vision. The most effective leaders understand that their ultimate legacy will be measured not by how much noise they made, but by how much substance they contributed to the enduring strength of their organizations and communities. That kind of leadership requires the courage to sometimes stand silent while others seek noise, to think deeply when others demand quick answers, and to build patiently when others prefer dramatic gestures. That is the leadership that truly endures. Thank you.